Hey. Welcome back to the Stronghold Sessions. And look, I have a bomb dropper of a show today. Bomb dropper. So look, I remember back in my back in my episode one, where I told you guys that I would go through the SEC proposal and what all that meant and what this could possibly mean for everyone around us, specifically risk management programs and GR2 and such. So let me get into it. First things first. So the Security Exchange Commission, you know who they are. They are the regulatory body that manages things of securities, exchange markets, and all that good stuff. They are also directly responsible for managing Sarbanes-Oxley or SOX, which is for companies who are planning to go public and who are public. It's an audit of their financial reporting controls and some IT reporting, well, IT and cybersecurity controls as it pertains to those financial controls. So if you think about it, before I even go into the actual proposed rules, how far-reaching just any rule or any change that could possibly be, that's going to be huge, right? It's going to be far-reaching. The implications of it are already going to be deep. So look, the new proposal from the FEC is going to amend what's called some of their forms, which they use to disclose information to the public, as well as use it for reporting. And they're looking like they want to amend two forms, looks like the 8K and the 6K, or to add actually a cybersecurity incidents reporting, either topic or form, which is called the new 6K. So check it out. That may not be as pertinent as what the actual changes pertain to. So what this means now is that with the new 8K and 6K forms, that a company that now who is under the voice and direction of the Security Exchange Commission, they will now have to report all cybersecurity breaches, as well as its policy and procedures as it pertains to how they are mitigating cybersecurity risks, right? So boom, let me just stop there. So that means for all of the folks who have said that our policies aren't important, our policies don't need to be touched, don't need to be maintained, this is now saying directly that this is now a priority. Because what this means is that you need to have actionable, clear policies that are actually living and breathable, usable documents. Because what happens is those policies, those documents, those programmatic, those seemingly arbitrary activities, like your risk assessment, your policies, your DRP, your testing, your BCP testing, your policies, procedures, all those things that are seeing more of mundane text and check marks are now things that are going to end up saving you in court. Because remember, the two primary functions of a cybersecurity program and information security program, above providing just awareness of your threat landscape, is risk management, right? As well as due care. Now, what's due care? Due care specifically means that you are taking your necessary measures to provide controls beyond a negligible standpoint, right? So that means that you're doing all that you can do to make sure that the data that you've been entrusted, whether it's customers, your own, whichever data you've been entrusted to, has been protected up to industry best standard, or best to your ability, or best to your reasonable ability, right? So imagine that you have this technically strong, or this appearingly so technically strong program. Something happens, you get breached. You get called in, or for example, or even worse, let's say your customer sues you as a result, or a regulatory body sues you as a result, and they call you into federal court, and they want you to attest that you have a proper information security program that wasn't negligent with their data, and you don't have any policies and procedures. How are you going to prove that? That's going to be a hard case for anybody to prove. And especially if these policies look like they have not been touched, doesn't have like they've been iterated upon, don't know if they actually fit the business, there hasn't been a risk assessment done, this could cost you more than just your business, Uber CISO, right? So this is monumental. And this isn't just for businesses. I mean, this isn't just for businesses in the private sector, because as I read the white paper from the White House around their cybersecurity program, critical infrastructure is one of their pillars. And what entities and agencies manage critical infrastructure on a local level, on a United States level or US level? The city, your federal agencies. So that's who's going to be next. So while I do see, specifically speaking on the public sector, while I do see folks looking at technical controls, looking at doing things like cybersecurity risk assessment, things like that, it won't be enough, because you'll have to start looking at how to apply these policies, procedures, these risk assessment, these plans, so that you can actually have a well-balanced information security program. Cybersecurity, which is a subset of information security, is more than just about technical security or firewalls or controls and such. The policies, procedures, and plans, risk assessments support those controls by giving you strategy and direction. For example, let's take a risk assessment. Your risk assessment, most people think it's just an arbitrary task where you look at specific events to your business and you try to calculate the impact as well as the likelihood of the event, right? Who your threat actors might be, and then you either quantify low, medium, high, or you try to attach the number sign to it, which is called a quantitative risk assessment versus a qualitative, which I just spoke about. So the first question, as I'm approaching either a new business plan and folks or new business requirement, and folks want me to apply cybersecurity, or CISOs in general just ask me, we have all these tools, and then they say, I said, well, how did you know that you need them? And they kind of take a brief pause, and I said, well, how do you know, again, how do you know that you need those tools? And they said, this just feels like something I should just have. And I was like, well, if you'd have a risk assessment that was full, complete, well thought out, you would know specifically why, when, and where, and how, and in what manner to apply those controls, because your risk assessment will tell you specifically, because you'll be ranking them to high, medium, and low. So obviously your highest critical are the ones that you're going to work on. And those are specific priorities that you can translate and transfer to your cybersecurity program and use them as working as actionable items. And it can actually save you money, because you don't have to apply security controls or security tooling and all these extra things to areas that aren't even really risks or areas of concern for the business. And that's when you also get to talk about risk appetite, which is how much risk is the business willing to take, right? So all of these things, all these conversations, these governance, risk, and compliance conversations are now mandatory and need to be had. I believe along with this as well, there is also a board reporting part as well, which is requiring that your board actually have agenda items that's requiring the cybersecurity, right? So let's just take a pause. The SEC is mandating this change. They've proposed it. It looks like it's going to go through. I remember the first utterance of this was 10 months ago when I posted on my LinkedIn, and I said, honey, you got a storm coming, because it's true. You have a huge storm coming. This is 1,000-mile high wave, and it's coming. Because now what'll happen is you'll have to fully and seriously evaluate not only your information security program, but your talent, because your talent will have to ensure that they are competent in GRC and ensure that they have the proper people in place to manage these programs, which is also a part of the mission. So there's a lot of things coming. There's a lot of things coming. And I think the most important part will be what will happen from a downstream perspective. So I think what we need to be cognizant of is what this means, what we are going to do to change this, and how can we hop on as information security professionals, and how can we change and hop on this wave, because it's coming. And we're going to see, I foresee a lot of businesses over these proposed breaches end up in federal court for negligence because of how they handled it. And now, because of how the SEC is requiring them to be reported, there's no more hiding. You know, as far as I see, there is no size requirement for breach. So I believe that if your business suffers an exfiltration or unauthorized exfiltration, aka a breach, you will have to report using the 8K form. And this could lead to further investigation as to what happened, and especially the larger institutions. So I'm curious to see how this is all going to plan out, y'all. I'm serious how this is all going to plan out. This is going to be big. This is huge. As huge as it is. Governance compliance is making a comeback. It's making a rise. So let's be careful. Let's stay tuned and hang on or don't. So what does it really mean, though? I mean, beyond what I've already explained, I think that finally, we're going to see a heavy emphasis, even more so, on audit, on gap analysis, on risk assessment, cybersecurity assessments as well, and just assessments across many frameworks, MIS 27001, specifically NIST CSF, which is one that I see a lot. Honestly, this is good. I see this as good. I see this as finally going to add the level of transparency as well as give information security to programs all over the world and all over at least not over the world, at least under the sound of the SEC for now, specifically just in the US, under the voice and the direction of the SEC, will require them to now put more teeth, put more money behind their information security programs. As we're seeing now, this is translating the risk and negligence for the owners of the business. And what this will also mean is this will also mean that if investors are aware of businesses that are not up to par or do have issues or security or serious issues within information security, this could also mean for them to pull their investments from your business as well as a result to protect themselves from having to have any type of liability from this business or the business that's not compliant. This is huge. This is going to change everything. This is going to be huge, and especially when this hits. There's already cybersecurity law coming. The White House is already all over, like I said, mentioned, or excuse me, that I mentioned earlier, that they have already put out their plan. And critical infrastructure is a part of that. And critical infrastructure, I still believe, is one of the weakest areas of cybersecurity within the US, considering how important it is. You know, it's our gas, water, that's everything that we use to live, essentially. So, you know what? I think this is going to be great. And I don't see this as an impediment. What I see this as is a step forward. I see it as a step forward for finally businesses to finally get their head in the game fully about information security and not have it as an afterthought or as a mitigating measure after a breach has already occurred. So we want to try to be proactive in information security and try to mitigate things before things happen, which is funny because that's what policy, risk assessment, governance measures, and compliance measures are designed to do. They're designed in most parts to provide strategy and direction in a way that reduces the attack surface and as well as provides a useful strategy to move forward. So I'm excited to see about what this comes on. But this is it for episode 2. I will be coming on with episode 3 here shortly, but thanks for listening, and I definitely appreciate it. And this has been another Stronghold Sessions with Aaron. Appreciate it. See y'all soon.